Boom, boom, boom.
Here we go, UFC 238 in the Windy City of Chicago. Great place for a UFC event. Joined in studio once again with Dan the Hangman Hooker. You got a fight date. That's the first thing. That's exciting.
I was like trying to remember the date. I was like, oh, he's put me under this. Yeah, 20th of July. So it's only 6 weeks away.
Oh.
Very exciting, very excited.
Awesome. But you've had time, as you always do. You make time for us to go through fight by fight for this big event, this big pay-per-view, which is on Sunday, New Zealand time. First fight on the early prelims is Caitlin. We've had an argument with how we say her last name.
Well, no, it's not even how we say it. I think it's Chook again.
Chook again against Joanna Calderwood.
But we want to say Chook again.
And it's the number 6 against the number 13 in the flyweight division. Few injuries, Calderwood. I think it's the first time she's had 2 fights in a 12-month calendar year. Taking on Chook again, who's a counter fighter, rangy sort of fighter.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty weird placement of this fight. 2 top 15 ranked girls fighting in the first fight of the Fight Pass prelims. Usually they give it to, it kind of just states the level of this card. Like, I've gone and looked through this card and it's like incredible night of matchups. But the Chook again, yeah, she's rangy, likes to fight and really just frustrate opponents from range, like kind of like a unathletic Holly Holm style. No offense, like I'm not the best athlete in the world. It's just you got to work with what you got. Calderwood, fan favorite. She's a striker as well.
Is she Irish or Scottish?
She's Scottish. Yeah, she's on a 2-fight win streak. She's looked very impressive as of late, but I just feel like the frustrating style of Chook again will get the best of her. She'll be able to frustrate her from range, move, only engage when she wants to, and pick up the decision.
And Calderwood said she's frustrated that she's first fight again and she wants to make a statement.
Well, you can't start frustrated. Now you're...
Yeah, I know. And she's not looking forward to fighting Chook again.
Against a frustrating fighter. Yeah. You're already frustrated.
Yeah, she's frustrated. 187 each of 2 there, so a coin flip. So Chook again looks like a pretty good way to maybe start your multis. Next fight, Eddie Wineland against Grigory Popov. Wineland a slight favourite in this one.
Yeah. Weird fight. So Wineland's like a true veteran of the sport. He's been around for yonks. That's kind of why his record looks like the way it looks. He has a very, very unusual style. He just refuses to lift his hands above his waist, and he'll move around with his hands down. So he has good ability to dodge strikes, but it's if you were to get a boxing purist to watch him fight, or just a kickboxing purist, their heads would probably explode. But you can, MMA with the wrestling and the range is different. You can get away with this sort of thing. But yeah, true veteran of the sport. Popov, he's coming out of Tiger Muay Thai camp, along with, Peter Yan and Shevchenko. And so they're another Tiger Muay Thai prospect to keep an eye on. He's on a 10-fight win streak, but there's really just been crushing cans. He's been crushing cans in China. He's been crushing cans in Russia. He's finally in the UFC. So it's a test for both of them. Is Popov of UFC caliber? Is he of that level? Because he really, as a prospect, hasn't been tested at all. Wineland, this is a test to see if he's still got it. I think he still does have it.
It's got that ring of does he continue type fight.
Oh, for sure. Oh, definitely. If Popov was to upset Wineland in this fight, it would definitely be time for Wineland to hang up the gloves. That's why there's so much on the line in this one. But I'm backing Wineland. His striking is, albeit unusual, he carries a lot of power, and I'm picking him to get the knockout.
A knockout to Wineland. All right, then we move into...
My Tiger Muay Thai friends would be pissed off. I picked against a Tiger Muay Thai fighter. I'm not that biased.
Bevan Lewis and Darren Stewart, they go at it in the 3rd fight of the early prelims.
Yeah, so Lewis is one of the Dana White Contender Series guys. Came through 2 very impressive knockouts on the Dana White Contender Series, and then he made his UFC debut against Uriah Hall, which is really just being thrown in the deep end. The top perennial ranked fighter. Uriah Hall's been up there, and Lewis got Uriah Hall. He got knocked out in the 3rd round. He was doing very well before getting knocked out, so that's a pretty hard thing to say. Edwards, he's an exciting guy to watch. Very mixed record. I believe 4 losses in the UFC and 2 wins, fighting out of England. Exciting guy to watch, but I feel like Lewis is going to carry the power in this matchup, and I'm picking him to get the knockout victory.
Jan against Angela. Angela Hall's an underdog against Jan.
Yeah. Angela Hall, very experienced for the women's division. This is her second run in the UFC, but she has run very, hot and cold throughout her UFC tenure. Just trying to find her feet as a striker. Like, she's changed styles, try to pressure a power box. Then she's gone to like a point fighting, move a lot system. And so I feel like she's just finding her feet, because she did go into the Ultimate Fighter with like only a couple of fights, like 1 or 2 fights. So puts you in a tough spot to compete with the best in the world when you've just been thrown in the deep end. So that's why her record looks the way it does. I think 9-6 is her record. But she's definitely better than that. I feel like she is UFC caliber. She is very experienced, and she has learnt a lot through her UFC tenure. Yan, on the other hand, Chinese prospect, 3-0, coming in with a lot of steam. But I feel like she's yet to be tested, and this will be a true test of her skill. I feel like the experience of Angela Hill will get her through in this fight, and she'll pick up the decision.
Here's our first underdog tip of the card. Angela Hill, 246 at the moment. Then we head into the prelims, and the card just gets better and better. And kicking it off, Calvin Kattar against Ricardo Lamas, who sounds more like a romantic sort of comedy actor. Ricardo Lamas doesn't sound like a destroyer.
Well, he is. Yeah, he is a destroyer. He's one of the veterans of the division. He's got some very impressive wins. He's coming off. Well, he snapped a 2-fight losing streak over the very tough Darren Elkins. Darren the Damage Elkins, who's famous for taking all the damage in the world. He got stopped by Ricardo Lamas in his last fight, so he's managed to snap that losing streak. Kattar, he's a hot young prospect, man. He rebounded with a KO victory over Chris Fishgold after losing a decision to the, I think, top 5 ranked Moicano, the Brazilian striker. That a very interesting fight. This will be a striking fight, I feel. I'm not sure if Lamas can implement his wrestling early and have some success with that, then that's going to make this a much closer contest. But I feel like Kattar stuffs those early takedown attempts, and he just has the far better striking, and I feel like he just outboxes Lamas over the 3 rounds, picking up the decision.
A decision in the first of the prelims. Second of the prelims, a lot closer with Carolina
Kolokovic.
Yeah, her.
Kolokovic,
that's her, yes. And
KK for short.
KK.
That's easier.
Against AG. Alexa Grasso. Yeah, and really closely priced, this one.
Carolina is 2-4 in her last 6, coming off a 2-fight loss streak. But, that's against high-level competition. That's against the champion Andrade and top contender Michelle Waterson. So she's kind of like the gatekeeper for the women's strawweight division. And I feel like that's a fair assessment of her position of in it, where she can't really get past those elite-level people. But then she kind of dismantles the lower down, or looks very impressive against the lower down. Grasso came in, she's with a lot of hype when she came into the UFC. She's gone 2-2, so a bit of that momentum behind her has kind of been shut down. Doesn't seem to handle pressure very well. When someone's just pressuring her, she's kind of happy just giving up. Not happy, but she's kind of content with, riding out a losing round. And that's not a good style to have against a pressure fighter in Carolina Kolokovic. I feel like the pressure's going to put her ahead in this fight, and she rides the decision.
Ride that decision. $1.82 favourite there. Aljamain Sterling, again, another close. There's so many close fights on this card. Aljamain Sterling against Pedro Munoz. It's $1.74, 201. I think you're going to go an underdog here.
Who's the underdog?
Munoz.
Nah.
Oh, okay.
Sterling, he's a post-knockout loss. He had a knockout loss to the title challenge, Marias, who's fighting in the main event tonight. Sterling has kind of moved more back towards his grappling roots, which got him to this position in the first place. And he's looked very good. He's on a 3-fight win streak since then, and he's looked incredibly impressive with the developments that he's made in his game. Munoz, he's also on a 3-fight win streak, so there's 2 guys coming in on 3-fight win streaks. He's a durable submission specialist coming off a knockout win over Cody Garbrandt. I just feel like Sterling's grappling chops will be enough to just shut down Munoz's dangerous submission game, and he turns it into more of a striking fight, where Munoz is, he wears guys out with his face. He does like the kind of the Homer Simpson. That's a bad, not that bad, but like he wears guys down and then looks to, pick up a submission later in the fight. But I feel like Sterling's fight IQ is just a bit too high to let him get caught up in that kind of fight. I feel like he outpoints him over the 3 rounds, and it's a fairly comfortable decision.
All right, then the most one-sided price-wise on the card is Tatiana Suarez, $1.10 against Nina Ansaroff at $6. You don't often get that big a price difference in MMA.
Yeah, Ansaroff, that's Amanda Nunes' girlfriend.
So don't mess with her.
Don't mess with her, but she's on a 4-fight win streak. Angela Hill, Marcos Gadelia. So very impressive as of late. Suarez, though, she was a 2012 Olympic wrestling hopeful before she got thyroid cancer, and that kind of put her out of and then she more directed her time and her direction towards MMA, and it's paid off, and it's very successful, and she's kind of put herself as the top prospect coming through in the division. She had 3 fights on the Ultimate Fighter when she was on that series, and then now 4 fights in the UFC. 3 of the 4 are via stoppage, which is very rare in the women's divisions to have that high of a stoppage rate. Cut to the chase. Suarez overwhelms Ansaroff and picks up the decision. Submission.
Right, main card. Boy, it gets exciting. And the first one up is, a lot of New Zealanders are going to be watching. This guy is entertaining. Tai Tuivasa, slight favourite. Hasn't had a fight for 6 months. Looking at his record, I think he's 10-1, and 9 of his 10 wins are first-round KOs. That's impressive. That's scary.
Yeah, I've known Tai for a very long time. I think 2011 or 2012, we trained together in Thailand. Like, he was over there getting fit, and I think he was like 160 kilos. Like,
wow.
So he's trimmed down 40 kilos to make the UFC heavyweight limit. Like, he's a incredible guy. Very colourful character, as most people have observed. He's fighting Ivanov, 1-1 in the UFC. A loss over his debut was to Junior Dos Santos, who Tai Tuivasa also lost his last fight, and a win over Ben Rothwell, which was a controversial win. I feel like, well, mark my words, this is going to be a boxing fight. This is a boxing fight with a 4-ounce MMA glove on. These guys, these guys will not take each other down. Ivanov is more of a counterpuncher, but Tai is just happy to lead. He's happy to lead. And if you're going into a boxing fight with Tai Tuivasa with an MMA glove on, I'm going to back him 100% of the time. I'm picking knockout.
Knockout Tai. I could have written that down before we started talking, actually.
You could have.
Peter Yan, he's a short price favourite against Jimmy Rivera. Interesting stat about Jimmy Rivera. I'm wondering if you knew this. He's defended every single takedown effort in his UFC career. 19 times people have tried to take him to the ground, never succeeded.
Does getting knocked down count?
No,
because that's like most of my takedowns are knockdowns. What is it? I count him as takedowns. I'm like, if I punch you in the face and you fall down, technically you're down.
You're down.
Technically,
I guess you've taken him down with your fist or your knee, haven't you? Yeah, true.
I'm classing them as takedowns.
I don't think.
I have more of those. I have more of those than takedowns. Petey Yan, 4-fight win streak. He only made his debut a year ago. So in 12 months, he's gone 4-0 in the UFC. He called for this fight against Rivera after dominating John Dodson. Rivera, since being knocked out by Moraes, so it's another one of his victims is on his undercard, Moraes in the main event. He beat Dodson and lost to Aljamain Sterling, who's fighting earlier than him. In this fight, I'm backing the counter wrestling of Yan and the pressure of Yan. He just presses forward, very tight, high guard. He's got a very active guard. If Rivera shoots, we get to see anyone be able to hold Petey Yan down. He just scrambles up so well and gets back on the pressure. If you shoot, scrambles up so well, gets back on the pressure. I'm picking him to do the same in this fight, wear Jimmy Rivera down and get the decision.
Probably the fight I'm most looking forward to is the third to last fight. Tony Ferguson, who's had a number of outside the octagon issues.
They're calling this the fans' main event.
Yeah, the fans' main event against Cowboy Cerrone. 32nd UFC fight, tied for the top number of UFC fights ever. Only fought a month ago, and that was a bit of a war for Cerrone, but he's saying he's going back to the top, all the way to the top, and going to win a belt before he stops. Good fight.
Yeah, that is like a real quick turnaround. And he says, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm ready to fight. But 5 rounds, man. 5 rounds in those small gloves. Like, he did win, but he did get hit. Like, even beating someone up hurts. Like, people don't understand that. Like, even if you just
destroy someone,
you can just destroy someone. Like, your hands are sore, your feet are sore, your shins are sore. Like, your body's beat up, and you need to respect the time to let your body heal and recover. But it's Cowboy. He gets straight back on the horse, and it's a really just an opportunity that no one would pass up. No lightweight would pass up this. You beat Tony Ferguson, you put yourself as the number one guy. You put yourself as the next guy to challenge for the title. So I can definitely see why Cowboy jumped on this opportunity. It's also a short turnaround, a short camp for Tony Ferguson as well. Cowboys look good back at lightweight. He smashed apart.
He's durable, eh?
He smashed apart a big mouth Hernandez, who was saying, "You're old, you're done, you're washed up." He got head kicked and beaten up, which was for a lot of fans. We love to see that. We love to see the big mouth get shut up. Then he picked apart Al over 5 rounds and just dominated the decision there. Ferguson, I'll be here all day reading out his credentials. 14 of 15 UFC fights, he's got the win. He's on an 11-fight win streak at lightweight, which is incredible. It's incredible to get that kind of win streak. It's going to be hard to pick against the pressure of Tony Ferguson and the short camp and the short turnaround that Cowboys had. I'm looking, he's a slow starter, and Tony's like very good at pressuring guys and figuring them out and just throws the kitchen sink at people. And I'm backing Ferguson in this one. I actually am picking him to stop Cowboy in the later rounds.
Then the first flyweight title defence in the women's flyweight, Valentina Shevchenko against Jessica Ai. Shevchenko's only ever lost 2 fights, both to Amanda Nunes. That's really well credentialed. I guess that's why $1.07 against $7 for Jessica. She's up against it.
Is that the highest? That's the highest.
Yeah,
on
that's
the card.
the highest.
Yeah. So Ai, heading into 2018, she was on a 4-fight losing streak, but she snapped that, and she's now riding a 3-fight win streak. So for the women's flyweight division and the state of the division, she's a very deserving title contender. Shevchenko, 2-fight win streak after moving down to flyweight. and being unable to get over Amanda Nunes. She won the bout in her first fight, and then she looked great. Beating Joanna Jędrzejczyk, she kind of had to pull out all of her tools. Usually she's very conservative. She does enough to get the win, and she won't take any risks beyond that. But she did take a few risks in that JJ fight, just because of the level of JJ. She had to lift her game as well. But in a challenger like I feel like she has the potential to dominate her, but she'll do what she does. She raises to the level of her competition, and I feel like she'll beat Jessica Ai comfortably, but she won't put her away. She won't take the risk in that. Do enough to win. So I feel like some money on a decision there would be a pretty safe bet.
And the main event for the vacant bantamweight belt, Henry Cejudo against Marlon Moraes. $2.10 Cejudo. He's the only. Did you know here's another stat? I don't know if you knew this.
Hit me.
He's the only MMA fighter to have won both a gold medal and a UFC belt.
I have heard that. Do you follow him on the social media? I don't follow him, I see that. He walks around for his belt. He lives off his belt and his gold medal on. Of course I know that. He will tell people as soon as he runs into them. Yeah, I did know that.
Okay, I didn't know that till about half an hour ago. And Moraes is 17-1 in his last 18 fights, and his last 8 wins, 7 of them been stoppages. So this is a hell of a match.
Yeah, hell of a match. Interesting fight. I would say it's an interesting fight. Definitely the Ferguson Cowboy fight is still mine
too.
But so Moraes, he's on a street fight win streak. He was the World Series of Fighting champion. He had a very impressive run in the World Series of Fighting. Then he came over to the UFC. Very hyped debut. He lost his debut split decision to Santos. Then he picked up in his second fight a pretty withheld split decision win over John Dodson. But then since then, KO over Sterling, submission over Rivera, and then he avenged his loss to Santos. So he's via finish. I think he dropped him and then he submitted him. So he's looked very impressive as of late and made himself very deserving of that number one contender spot. Very physical guy, very big guy, very well conditioned. Cejudo, on the other hand, he's coming up from flyweight. He's the flyweight champion, coming off of a win over TJ. Since his loss to Demetrius Johnson, he then lost to Benavidez. Then he went on a 2-fight win streak over Reyes. Then Pettis, rematch, won the bout against DJ via split decision. I feel like DJ still won. I don't even know why I added that. This does not help the discussion. That's like a deviation.
You go wherever you want, mate.
Then he knocked out TJ. I just feel like Moraes, he's a true bantamweight, and I feel like Cejudo is just not. He's just not a bantamweight. He's not big enough for the division. He's coming up. He's running into too much power, too much physicality. Moraes is an extremely fast starter. And I feel like he gets an early knockout over Cejudo.
Right. I've written on these bits of paper, which I'm handing over to you now. With highlighter, all of your picks. What are the best 3? What are the best 3? If you had a multi-bet and you could take the best 3, lock them in. Don't worry about the prices, just the 3 you're surest of.
The 3, well, they're going to be the Suarez, I'm very sure. Shevchenko, I'm very sure.
Oh, it's just killing you, isn't it? Most sure. He's gone the $1.07 and the $1.10.
Shevchenko, Suarez, and Tai Tuivasa.
Tai Tuivasa, of course. 4-ounce gloves. Lights
Let's
out.
Go. Back my boy.
And you take knockout, don't you?
Back my boy.
There's no way he...
Take it.
That fight finishes.
Well, that Ivanov is tough. He's actually like a friend. He's a friend of my wrestling coach in my gym. And But when someone is like, it was before his debut against Junior Dos Santos, and he was like telling me about him. He's like, oh, this Bulgarian guy, he's good. I once seen him drink a whole 40 ounce in one go. And I was like
sculled it.
Yeah, and I was like, is that a fighting credential? And he's like, and then this other time he got stabbed in the heart. And I was like, are you sure these are like credentials that say? I was like, well, I'm not like sold on his skill set. So I know he's very tough. I know he's a very tough guy. And he's used to being spun around and hit over the head.
Sounds more like he's a machine than a person.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, Hangman Hooker, once again, thanks so much for your time. All the best in your camp. 6 weeks to go till we see your return into the octagon. Very much looking forward to that. Thanks for your time.
No worries. Thank you very much.